Brad Newberg here of SB Nation Fantasy with our Fantasy Friday, where we ask a couple of quick hit questions to one of our fantasy bloggers. And today we're talking with James Dator of Cat Scratch Reader, our Carolina Panthers blog. James, what is the Panthers running back situation at this point? Is it Jonathan Stewart? And if so, is he a viable fantasy option for owners going forward?
The Carolina Panthers running back situation is very fluid right now. Head coach Ron Rivera has talked about how he wants to see how each back does and particularly use it on a matchup versus matchup basis, with Jonathan Stewart being the more powerful between tackles runner and utilizing D'Angelo Williams in some of the more offensive wrinkles. This gives the Panthers kind of a weird running back situation. I think Stewart's going to get more of the touches, but I think D'Angelo Williams has more of the big play potential. That being said, the offense right now is being tailored towards more of a power back system and finally using Mike Tolbert as a blocking fullback rather than just an offensive weapon. I think Jonathan Stewart could be a viable fantasy option. I wouldn't start him yet, but if he's free in your league, I'd find a way to get him, and if you need to trade for him, do it on the cheap, stash him, and take a couple of weeks to see how the Panthers are going to use the backs. He got a lot of touches last week against the Chicago Bears, and I think his role will improve and increase over time.
As someone who watches this team closely, can you point to any reason why Steve Smith hasn't found the end zone even once this year?
The biggest problem for Steve Smith right now is Cam Newton's red zone accuracy. When the Panthers get between the 20-yard lines, they're fine, and when Steve Smith has room to operate, he's still a very effective receiver. However, when Steve Smith gets doubled and the Panthers are in those 10-yard and goal line situations, all of a sudden, Cam is unable to get him the ball. Newton's been very inaccurate on short routes, and that's where Steve Smith makes his money in the red zone. It's where Jake Delhomme found him a lot of the time, and it's where Cam Newton had success last year. The big plays have been going the way to Smitty as we've seen in the past, but he hasn't been able to take any to the house yet. This makes him a very interesting fantasy prospect because he'll get yards. He's on pace to go for another 1,000 this year, and he is the Panthers' leading receiver. However, he's not being put in any positions where he can get touchdowns. We're entering now just the second week where the Carolina Panthers are retooling their offense, making it more of a power running situation and using the run to branch off the pass. If this works more and Cam Newton's able to get the ball to Steve Smith in those short situations, I'd suggest that he could be a very real fantasy threat. Right now, though, until Cam shows his short accuracy is improving, it's a risky proposition to start him week in, week out.